Welcome back. Your time is 4:40 on this Friday afternoon. I'm Martin Daubney on GB News. Now, 7 Rotherham child abusers have been jailed for over 100 years after harrowing crimes against girls. Today's sentencing is the result of a 5-year investigation by the National Crime Agency as part of Operation Stovewood. To get the latest on this, our national reporter Charlie Peters is live for us at Sheffield Crown Court. Charlie, welcome to the show. You've been covering this case since the very beginning. Yesterday, when we spoke, you read out some incredibly moving and impactful victim impact statements that 2 survivors issued to those 7 monsters in court. Today, they finally were handed justice. Charlie Peters, tell us more.
Well, the CPS and the National Crime Agency have both thanked the fortitude and the bravery of the victims for coming forward in this case and to help those investigators to achieve justice. Now, the judge here also thanked the victims for standing up, for bringing forward their testimony and for getting that justice as well. And yesterday, that comes after we saw one of the victims in this case take to the witness box and deliver a very powerful victim impact statement towards the defendants, all 7 of them avoiding her eyes as she told them, "I am your karma. You took my childhood, you took my innocence. Now I am taking your freedom." Extremely emotional and charged atmosphere in the courts as she delivered that powerful statement, with the public gallery, the families of the perpetrators watching down on her as she delivered that statement very boldly, without interruption, reading from notes, but mostly looking at them in the eyes as they tried to avoid her gaze, looking towards me, sometimes in the press gallery, sometimes staring at their families, mostly staring at the floor. Well, now they'll have plenty of time to reflect on what they heard from the victim impact statement in prison, as they were put down for a total of 106 years. Now, those 7 defendants were Mohammed Amar, who was given 14 years imprisonment. Yasser Ajaib was given 6 years. Mohammed Zamir Sadiq, 15 years imprisonment. There was an exasperated shock in the public gallery as that 15 years was handed down. Mohammed Sayab was given a 25-year sentence. He received his sentence via an Urdu interpreter inside the dock. He waved to his family in the public gallery as he was led away, with one of his daughters shouting, "I love you, Dad," as he was taken from the dock. The judge said that he was a persistent and cruel sexual predator. He was 27 at the time of the offending. His victim was just 11 years old, and she detailed during her statement yesterday and in the 9-week trial here that concluded earlier this year how she was trafficked around cemeteries, a nursery, supermarket car parks, hotels and the homes of her abusers to endure the most harrowing and horrific ordeals. The lengthy and relentless abuse that she endured at the hands of up to 150 men before she turned 16. Also sentenced after that lengthy sentence, following a break, Mr. Justice Slater came back and handed down a 24-year prison sentence to Abid Sadiq, who's already facing 20 years in prison from a previous conviction in 2019, also handed down by the same judge, also from an Operation Stovewood National Crime Agency investigation. He was described as a cunning and determined sexual predator. He committed these crimes while under investigation already for separate offences. You knew what you were up to and you continued doing it. That is what the judge said today as he sent him down for 24 years. And then Tahir Yassin was sent to 13 years imprisonment, and Ramin Barry, the last to be sentenced for 8 counts of rape, 9 years imprisonment. Now, the men here convicted of a string of child sexual offences, rape, indecent assault and also trafficking. Many of the charges were so harrowing to hear in court and were summarised again by the lead prosecuting barrister yesterday, who said that the girls were preyed upon and they were vulnerable victims at the hands of these appalling criminals. Now, They will face an extended time in prison. There will also be an extended time on licence once they are released. The National Crime Agency's Operation Stovewood looking into the historic abuse endured by over 1,400 girls and boys in Rotherham from 1997 to 2014 has achieved several criminal justice victories, but this is almost doubtedly one of their largest. By my research, it's the second largest since the operation was launched in 2014. They've achieved now some 38 convictions, over 250 arrests. They've identified and contacted some 1,150 victims, and their investigations continue apace. Now, that comes after the Alexis J report found that thousands of children in the town had been neglected by the local authorities. They looked the other way due to political correctness. They did not want to rock the boat over community cohesion because so many of the perpetrators were of a British Pakistani background, overrepresented in this kind of abuse in Rotherham. It kicked off a national discussion about child sexual abuse, which has seen more reports from Rochdale, Telford, Newcastle, right across the country, which has been exposed by several investigations. It is an ongoing national scandal, but today, with 106 years handed down, two survivors and the wider community that supported them will feel a great sense of justice.
Charlie Peters, I understand you offered some small words of comfort to one of those survivors outside the court today. Charlie, some of the words you read out to me yesterday, they simply moved me to tears from those impact statements when one of the girls said, "You started to pass me around as if I was a fresh piece of meat, man to man, city to city." You talked there, Charlie, about one of these girls being exploited by up to 150 men. Now, only 7 men have been sent down today, which asks the question, are all these perpetrators, these monsters, still at large? And Charlie, I have to point out that astonishing comment you made. A sexual predator, a child rapist, a paedophile was just sent down for 25 years, and yet a family member said, "I love you." What planet are they on that they can be like that in the face of such wanton and obvious cruelty and barbarity?
Well, to your first point, are there still several predators out there relating to this case? Yes, absolutely there are. And one of the big frustrations, I think, is that because justice was delayed for so long, hundreds of abusers have escaped the justice that's required. That's been a key problem in Rotherham, in Rochdale, in Telford, across the country when this kind of group localised child sexual exploitation has occurred, because the local authorities missed a chance to achieve what they could at the time of the abuse going on. Today, though, Stuart Cobb, the senior investigating officer, told me that this 5-year investigation was particularly complex, in part because the abuse had happened over 20 years ago. That's when it started. They have to delve in so deep to get and recover as much evidence as they can from that problem, from that period. Now, one of the survivors who today told me that this result was amazing and it was a great day of justice for her, she said yesterday that 20 years ago, her grooming started. 10 years ago, her fight for justice started. Now she finally has it.
Charlie Peters, fantastic reporting, a very, very important story. No matter how difficult it is, the truth must be told, and certainly there, those girls' truth must be listened to. Thank you, Charlie Peters. Now, gear change now, because